Welcome to episode 22 of the Old White Man Show. I call it the Old White Man Show because I'm old, I'm white, and I'm a man. I'm also a little pudgy. That's what happens when you get old, you start getting more pudgy. At least some of us does. Uh, Last week I didn't have one because I was in Mexico. Went down to Puerto Morelos with some friends and family and had a great time. I can't say enough about how friendly the people in Mexico are when you go down there. Of course, we stayed in a resort, but they was real happy to see us. They was very polite and nice and very caretaking and cautious of the virus. So I got to take my hat off again every time I go down there. It's just a wonderful, wonderful time. And great friends who treats us, who took us down there, and I really want to say thank you. You know, Doing this show, I like to talk a little bit about my past and a little bit about what my current thoughts is on different topics and stuff like that. I know growing up in Louisiana, I probably grew up on the lower economic side of the world, so I had different thoughts and different experiences than a lot of other people. I treasure my public education I had. I think it was real good being with people. And I treasure the time that I was able to, after I left the military and I was going to college, working my way through. My wife and I did many different jobs. I know there was about a 2 year extent of it where we cut firewood. We would cut 6 cords of firewood a day. I had a chainsaw and a splitting axe, and together, we would cut 6 cords and deliver it, and got paid $50 a cord, $300 a day, tax free. So it's pretty good money. It's tax free if I claimed it, tax free if you didn't claim it. I ain't saying what, but we lived pretty good. We lived well within our means, and I was working towards my education. We cut firewood, went to class, raised a garden, raised a lot of vegetables. We tried to give a lot of vegetables away free to people who needed it, but they was too lazy to come pick it. They wanted me to pick it and deliver it to them. And I said, no, you can come here and pick it. You can have it free. But they didn't want to do that. We had one family, we lived in Boyd, Texas, who came out and they picked the vegetable garden, and they picked it and took it and was very appreciative of it. And I did pick some and bring it to the different professors up there at school at North Texas State University, and gave them some, and anyone who really needed it. We had lots of tomatoes and cucumbers and jalapenos and okra and greens and stuff like that we grew. Did good. What I want to talk to you today about is what's happening in our country and how it affects other people. Being just a common layperson, sometimes I gotta look at stuff the way it was written or reported to have been written, and try to interpret it to the best of my ability to what it says. There's all kind of people who told me what it says, but I don't necessarily agree with them. One of the things is our Constitution of the United States, and there's various articles in there, and every article has various sections. In Article 1, Section 1 of the Constitution reads, all legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the United States, which shall consist of a Senate and a House of Representatives. To me, that kind of means like the legislature, the Congress, and consisting of the House of Representatives and the Senate, they have all the powers to legislate, to make laws. That's what I read. It doesn't say anything in there about the Associated Press. It doesn't say anything about high-tech media firms. It says the legislative powers, is granted, is vested in the Congress of the United States. That's it. So when I hear the AP has declared this or the AP has declared that, the Associated Press says this and the Associated Press says that, it doesn't make it true. It doesn't make it a law. It's an opinion that they may have. And their opinion may be true and their opinion may be not true. And the people who owns those companies, they have a tendency to put their opinion out there and wants you to believe everything that they say. But I'm telling you that you need to use your own mind and think about stuff yourself. It's amazing how we have followed the media and we have come to believe what the media says is right, and that their word is actual. And whether it's Fox News or CNN or MBS, NBC or ABC or CBS or whatever it is, those is just profit companies that makes money various ways. In the old days, the media was there and they would sell newspapers, and based on the newspaper sales, they made profit. As technology developed, newspapers got more widespread, and then they started printing, saying stuff over the telegraph, certain news, and eventually it came in the form of radio and TV, and people sold commercials, and you want to listen to the news, and I remember as a boy we had 3 different news stations. We had ABC, CBS, and NBC, and they competed against each other. Today, we have hundreds, or if not thousands, of news media organizations, through national media or through YouTube medias or, to whatever they may be. And they make statements, and they want you to follow their statements. And if you say something that they don't agree with, then they may say, this is false news. It's been checked by an independent fact checker. Now, what is an independent fact checker? Is it someone that's independent, that no one knows who they are, and they just check facts and they say this is that and that and that? No, it's not. An independent fact checker is someone who works for the media company, who says, this is what my media boss wants me to say, so your information is false and my information is correct. And that's what they do. So you maybe say something true, but if you go against what the media says, then the media, big media companies, whether it's Google or Facebook or Twitter or whatever it may be, they will come out and say, no, that's not true. This is what's true. It's kind of like life. Think about this. I asked you how old you are, and you say, oh, I'm 25 years old. I says, well, so when did your life begin? Well, my life began on my birthday, when I was born. See, that was fed to us, birthdays, because it's an easy date, to remember how old you might be. But in reality, your life began upon your conception. If you don't know what conception means, that's when 2 people have sex and the sperm and eggs gets together and it starts to develop a life. It's conception. And that's when your life really began. And you're living in the womb, and if you go full term, you're living there for 9 months. Sometimes you only go 7 months. Sometimes you only go 5 months. Sometimes you go 10 months. It's different. You never know. But 9 months is the norm. So if you're using that as the norm, and I ask you how old you are, and it's on your 25th birthday, you could say, well, I'm 25 years and 9 months because I started at conception. Now, if your life didn't start at conception, you shouldn't even be here. You should be some kind of fertilizer or dust or something, you know. So, I mean, because it's got to be. It can't just be that my life started when I was born, because if that's the case, then that gives people the right to say that life don't start at conception; it starts at birth, and they use that tool to kill innocent babies still within the womb. So I argue that life starts at conception. The courts argues that life really starts, whenever a woman chooses it to start, or whatever. Who's right and who's wrong? I think I'm right because the courts thinks that they're right. We can agree to argue about that forever. So it's your conception. So I like the Ten Commandments that was handed down by Moses. I mean, one of the Ten Commandments says, I shall not kill. Well, if you're killing a fetus in the womb, a baby in the womb, you're killing. So that's a sin. And if I'm killing someone on the battlefield, which I'm guilty of, that was a sin. So I broke those commandments. That commandment, I've done that, and I'm probably going to go to hell for it. But that's just the way it is. There's no exceptions. They don't say it's all right to kill, or it's illegal, it's not good to kill because it's a sin, unless you choose that you don't want to have a baby, and by having that baby, it's going to inconvenience you. So, yeah, you can go ahead and kill them up to 10 minutes after they're born, because that's legal. Or, it's okay to kill enemy soldiers because they're trying to kill you. No, it's not really okay. We just do it. We do stuff that's bad, and we got to start thinking about when stuff is right and when stuff is wrong, and how people use this stuff to control us. And now, Second Amendment to the Bill of Rights, we have the right to bear arms. Now, that right to bear arms, when I translate it, it means to me I have the right to bear arms to defend myself from a government, who's no longer of the people for the people. You know, it doesn't say that I have the right to shoot murderers or shoot Indians or to shoot people who's trying to harm me. It gives me the right to protect myself from bad governments. Now, if my government fails to protect me from crime, I have the right to protect myself from crime. It's as simple as that. Yet this week in Seattle, they're passing a bill to make certain crimes misdemeanors. So just say, for example, if I go and break into your house and beat you up with a baseball bat because I need to buy food or I need some money for my drugs, it's just going to be a misdemeanor because I'm supporting a habit that I need, Or in Texas, where we got some real crazy legislative person, some crazy woman, who's saying if someone breaks into your house, it's your duty to let them rob you, not to defend yourself. It's my duty to flee my home. No, I don't think that's my duty. My duty is to be there to defend my home against a person. And if you break into my home to rob, steal, or harm me, my intention is to stop you. If I can stop you without killing you, I would do that first. If I got to shoot you 22 times, I would do that too. I would do what I need to do to defend myself and my family, regardless of what that dumb broad says. That was terrible what she's trying to do in the state of Texas. It's terrible what they're doing in Seattle. And it's terrible what's happening all across America. We got police officers leaving their jobs because they can no longer be a police person. They can no longer, you know, stop crime. We got people who wants to legislate what we can do to protect ourselves. So what I'm saying is, get out your Constitution, read your commandment, read the amendments to that Constitution yourself. Don't listen to what your teacher says, because your teachers has been compromised. Read it yourselves. If you don't know what a word means, look it up in Webster's. Try to understand what it means and try to apply it. Also, get out your Bible and read what the Ten Commandments are. You can't go read it in the courthouse square no more, or you can't read it in school no more. So take it out and read it yourself. Try to understand what's being said. Don't listen to your preachers. Don't listen to your priests. Try to use some common sense. When Christ roamed the earth and people started converting to become Christians, and after his death, it was Christians. It wasn't Baptists and Catholics and all this other stuff. He was just a Christian. We all basically the same. And a lot of the Christian beliefs is based on Jewish beliefs. And a lot of the Jewish or the Muslim beliefs is a combination of Christian and Jewish beliefs. And a lot of the Buddhist beliefs and Hindu beliefs, and we're all the same. A lot of them, and no religion teaches you to go out and kill people. No religion teaches you to go out and steal. That's not the way it's done. I know my wife and I was visiting Europe a couple of years ago. We came to a little town called Cologne, Germany, and we found an old gate there. And in the gate they had a severed hand, and a picture of a severed hand carved into the rocks. And above it was a picture of a axe. And I kind of read that, and I'm saying, what that means is, if you come into my city and you steal, we're going to cut off your hand. That was a warning. That was to deter you from stealing. Did it stop stealing? No. That's why they cut off hands, because people did it. We have laws today to deter you from committing certain crimes. Does it work? No. And now they're opening up and saying, well, it's okay if you commit certain crimes, against people, because we understand that you need. There is a difference in stealing a loaf of bread and eating it and feeding your family versus stealing something for drugs, in my opinion. If I'm sitting on a jury and there's a person being, convicted of stealing a loaf of bread, I'm probably going to say, hey, you're guilty of this bread, but I don't want to put you in jail for that. I want to get out and find you a job so you can feed your family without stealing that loaf of bread. And if you out there stealing for drugs money, I'm probably going to say you need to be rehabbed, and I probably need to put you in prison so you don't get access to drugs, hopefully. And maybe you can get off of drugs and you can learn something in prison. There's a difference in stealing. And the worst thieves in our country is our politicians. So we need to control them. We need to have term limits. Hey, just have them this one term. We don't even need to give them 2 terms. You go there for 1 term. You don't get paid a retirement pay. You just go there for 1 term to serve your country. You get a minimum wage type, and yeah, we can feed you in the Congress's dining room. We can give you bologna sandwiches and peanut butter. We don't need to give you fancy steaks and roasted duck. We don't need to buy you wines and alcohol. Nancy can buy her own alcohol with her own money. We don't need the taxpayers buying it, But 1 term, let's get our government squared away. Let's get these people back, and stop listening to these. And let's get rid of these professional bureaucrats. Just make a bureaucrat a job for 3 years to 5 years and then you're gone. We don't want you to be professional. I don't want you to be working for the FBI for 40 years and all of a sudden you're making the laws. You know, in the last few years, I have lost faith in my government and in the bureaucracy. I've lost faith. I don't trust them. You know, the question is not is what they're doing to serve the American people, but what are they doing to us? I mean, I got my Social Security check. I got a notice in the mail. We got a pay raise. Yet they charged me a couple $100 more a month towards my Medicare, so I'm receiving a couple $100 a month less. So it's kind of like they give it in one hand and they take away a whole bunch more on the other hand. That's what they do, and it's justified. Why is it justified to take the money I paid in? I don't know. They just justified it. So we need to think about this. And and understand that life itself is not fair, but it's your responsibility to take care of yourself and your family. It's your responsibility to understand our laws of our nation and to follow those laws. It's your responsibility. Your teachers is not going to tell you the truth. They're going to tell you what they are mandated to say. And unfortunately, many of these teachers don't even know the truth because they never learned the truth. In California, there's certain books you can't have in high school. You can no longer do Huckleberry Finn because it's racist. Why is it racist? They had a white guy and a black guy on an adventure. I never looked at the black guy as being, anything less than a human being and have any less rights than what I had. I seen two kids on an adventure, but now all of a sudden, it's racist. There's 19 different works that's being banned in California that you can no longer read. Kind of like Nazi Germany when they was banning books. We banned this, we banned that. How would you know what's right now if you don't get to read these books? We are being denied the right to learn, to understand what's really in the world. We are being denied the right to understanding history and how history really affects us. Speaking of history, a couple of weeks ago, Saturday before I left for Mexico, LSU played Alabama. Alabama beat us bad. Beat us like a stepchild. People got upset. Some of them left the team. 9 people left the team. We played Florida this week. We barely made the 53-man roster. We were 1 man above it. If it would have been 1 man less or 2 men less, we wouldn't have been able to play the game. So we had red shirt freshmen, a whole bunch of them step up to the plate, fill in the gaps of the people who dropped out, who transferred, who didn't want to get humiliated by another loss. But we had spirit come alive. And yesterday, the LSU Tigers, unranked, the laughingstock of the SEC, was playing the number 6 Florida Gators. And the number 6 Florida Gators lost to the LSU Tigers. Not in overtime, but in regulation. A young kicker kicked a 57-yard field goal in the fog. He couldn't even see the goalposts. He just imagined in his mind where they should be, and he kicked it and he made it. That spirit, that's coming back, fighting spirit. So I'm going to say congratulations, LSU. You won a game I didn't think you were going to win. Now next week you get to play Ole Miss, and we will see what happens with that. I'm betting on LSU. In Vegas, you made lots of money because everybody who was betting on Florida lost. The point spread, the loss. Vegas is jumping up in joy with happiness. And all the people who bet LSU to win, you had a big payday. That being said, I will see you next week. Y'all have a great, glorious week. Bye bye.